With the fires in Maui and all of the questions surrounding the events that led up to the fires and all the conspiracy theories that we're getting now after the fire and the lack of response from the federal government, we thought it'd be a great idea to bring in our Director of Global Security. He is a retired Navy SEAL, former firefighter, current paramedic, curmudgeon, but he does have a lot of information. So we were talking beforehand about the craziness of all of the theories that are out there regarding the Maui wildfires. Do you think that there's something going on that's not quite right, but we don't know what it is? I mean, is that kind of your theory?
Oh yeah, there's some hinky stuff going on. I just don't think it goes to the level of the worst conspiracy theories, and that's what you and I are going to talk about today. So.
Right. All right. So the first thing I thought we would take a look at is this has actually made it to the news, but apparently some people are suggesting that it is. Well, I'll let her say it.
Social media, people are speculating about what could have caused the fires. One trending theory is that the fire started due to an attack from a directed energy weapon. 3 viral images appearing to show evidence of directed energy weapons have been shared online. But do these images really show that directed energy weapons started the wildfires in Maui? Let's verify.
All right. So that's the first, which feels a little silly, but I guess it could be. We don't know, right? I mean, what's the bottom line? Is there any evidence that you've seen?
No, and we wouldn't probably see it now. Plausible. What was that show with Jamie and whatever, the Mythbusters?
Right. Yeah.
Plausible that it could have a start. I mean, you can start a forest fire, a wildland fire, with a single match with winds as high as they reported in Maui. You could have devastation with a very small start. So plausible, yes. You know, the firebugs come out when high winds are forecast, especially in Southern California.
You said that before. And expound on that. The firebugs, people who love to start fires, whatever, they're twisted.
Oh yeah.
So when winds get high, that's one of the factors that brings out the people who arsonists?
All the time. So the arsonists, and especially in Southern California, because you get the Santa Ana winds that come from the desert. They're dry, hot, and they come through east to west. And when you get a red flag warning and high wind warnings in Santa Ana, those guys get nutty, and they will go out and set fires. And it is a freight train. It is unstoppable. Well,
and that's what we had in Maui. We had the winds blowing, and obviously caused a lot of devastation. Is this again? There are areas, and that's the other thing I've heard, that there are areas that are just completely decimated, and then you'll find these little pockets inside that don't look like they've been touched at all, and in some cases, houses. Is that normal?
Oh, it's completely normal. And I'm surprised that anyone who's a real journalist or a real, journalistic company or news organization hasn't got a wildland firefighter out there. Well, my fire department, we were dual role. So we would go out on wildland fires, forest fires, and then urban stuff. So think about it's called a flame front. So you start a fire and you get the winds behind it, and you may have gaps. I mean, I'm using I don't know why I'm using my fingers, but the idea is that it's not a solid wall of flame moving. There's gaps in between. Maybe there wasn't flammable material, and it just opened up, so there was a gap. So, and also the height. The flame front, we're talking about the trees. So yes, you could go through and with a flame front, and you could burn everything. And there's a gap, and so we missed a bunch of trees, or missed a house, and we'll talk about the house specifically. But also the height. If the palm tree, any tree, is 45 feet, and the flame front is only 25, it's going to miss it, and it's going to hit the trunk and not the branches. Right. So yes, and there's a little give and take because the heat rises and all that. But I've seen plenty of situations where if something has gone through, the flames have gone through. In fact, I got burned over rescuing someone who got burned in their car. When we're going to talk about how the cars could just burn without.
What's burned over mean?
when you're here in your person or in a vehicle or something else, and the fire burns over you.
Okay.
And that's where they deploy those silver tent-like things.
Right.
We were in an ambulance, so we didn't get burned over. We were the only firefighter ambulance. None of the ambulance paramedics could go in because they didn't have the gear or the training. So we had to go in and rescue people. But that's going back to the devastation. Absolutely. And that house, you want to talk about the house? Or?
Yeah, because here's the house, and that's the other, and I wanted to touch on the car. You kind of hit on it. The fact that people were saying, well, this car's burned, but this tree's not burned. Here we have a car and a house, and neither one of them look like they've been touched.
So not only is that possible because of the gap in the flame front, but I lived in Rancho Bernardo in North San Diego, and there were houses that got burned down to the ground next to a standing house. It's the wildest thing, and it really screwed up the mortgage, the values, because you had a house here that got burned down totally. Insurance paid for it next to the 20-year-old house. What's worth more?
Right.
Which house? This is all brand new, and this is old. So is it a comp? Is it a comparable? But it was weird because it looked like a dirty person's teeth, ragged house. Space, rag, down, all the way down the line.
And that's what tornadoes will do too. They're weird. They got that their razor sharp edge, and houses on one side of a street will be devastated and the other side doesn't look like it's been touched.
And they'll jump over things and then carry on. So that's totally a normal thing. And it also depends on the construction of the house. If you have a cement roof, if you don't have eaves where embers can get underneath,
right,
it's okay. And that flame front can be going fast. So you get an instant incineration,
right,
and then it moves on.
And that's a metal roof on that house, too.
Yeah. So there's nothing for the embers to light on, and probably the eaves are solid. So that's completely, I've seen it personally.
All right.
Multiple times.
All right. This the next video here, this is from ABC News, and it shows the devastation, but it also shows this fire. At one point, it explodes. I think it's coming up here. I think we may have. No, I think it's coming up here in just a second. But it looks like it's, I don't know.
Right there.
Yeah, hitting up. There it goes. There's the explosion right there. What is that when that happens?
I don't know anything about Hawaii, but you know where I live.
Pretty.
It is. I mean, I've been there, but I don't know the neighborhoods and such outlying. Around here where I live, everything's run on natural gas, or not natural gas, but liquid propane.
Right.
You store the propane in a tank.
Yep.
When it gets hot, it blevies. It boiling liquid, and they're making me do math. Boiling liquid vapor,
or
something
up.
Or other. Kaboom.
Right.
You get a kaboom. And so that's easily explainable. We didn't talk about the cars, or if we haven't gotten to that,
let's
talk about the cars now.
Yeah, let's talk about the cars.
So I think some of the conspiracy or the news stories were, oh, well, look, why did all the cars melt? And I think, greenery or trees or something else. Think about what the cars are made of. It's the same thing in a house from the 1940s to the 1960s. Every bloody thing in the house, we call it fire load, but the same thing in the cars. It's made of a petroleum product.
Right.
Unless you have your rich Corinthian or whatever.
Fine Corinthian leather.
Fine Corinthian leather, Ricardo Montalban.
Right.
That's covering foam. Everything in that car is a petroleum product. So it'll go up, and magnesium and aluminum. Cars burn like crazy. Of course they melted because they started on fire. It's not that they were hit with the energy, that energy weapon thing. Just to get a little bit deeper, the amount of energy it takes to get from space through the atmosphere onto the ground, the surface is huge. So it's not like it's going to be some mile-wide beam from the aliens. You talked about Star Trek earlier this morning.
True.
I can't remember which.
That's true.
Voyager. Yeah, Voyager.
Voyager. Yep.
We don't have that technology where you can incinerate a huge area. So yes, the directed energy weapons, totally plausible, and that it went dink, 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 and made a flame front, a start. But the odd thing is we always had a fire investigators out there.
Right.
Because you can find out where it starts, especially if you knew which way the wind was blowing. You just keep walking against the direction of the wind until you find green.
Right. That makes sense.
Black on one side, green on the other. Oh, and you keep walk that line and you find out where it started. So that part bugs me.
And that's just it. They're not releasing information. They're being they're acting covert. They're acting sus, and that's the problem, because nobody trusts anybody in the government to begin with. And when these clowns in government over there are doing stupid things, and for whatever reason they don't have the answer to, like, how many kids are missing, they
right.
I don't know. I mean, that's crazy.
To me, with my specialty, I would have said our arson investigators, our fire investigators are out. They're checking the area. They do it all the time. I mean, right. California gets wildfires every bloody year. It's just all the time. So you go out, you find the thing, and now you know where it started and how it started. So,
but again, they're keeping a lot of information,
and
too
that
close
I don't
to the
like.
vest. Right, exactly.
And I'm suspicious of that.
Right, and I think everybody is now, ever since the past several years. But all right, did we miss anything? Anything you want to add?
How much time we got?
I give you a minute.
Well, you're talking about water. Why didn't they take water? From the ocean?
Why didn't they just use water, and why can't they use water from the large body of water that's around them to put out fires?
They could. In fact, the tugboats in harbors, LA harbors, they take water right from the ocean and put it through the apparatus and shoot it onto boats and other things. The problem is you have to get to the water. A fire engine only has 500 gallons of water, and even a water tender only has 2,000 gallons. You'd have to go out on a pier, pull it out, bring it back, and so the problem is getting the drinking straw, the hose, down into the water. There's only so much distance of hose that you can drop in there before your pump can't pump it out, because there's energy it takes to get from the opened end into your apparatus, and it's friction losses and it's a bunch of other calculations. But you could get water. I'm sure that the planes that they should have had.
Well, with the high winds, they said they couldn't run the the aircraft, because of high winds.
So getting water from the ocean is a done deal. You can do it, but there's plenty of swimming pools. There's plenty of lakes. But I'll give them this. With winds of that speed, you get out of the way. There is no stopping that. It's impossible to stop. It is a freight train, and it will kill you.
Obviously, our hearts and our prayers are with all of y'all in Maui. And this could be as simple as a land grab. We just don't know, but we'll keep hunting. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and we appreciate you watching.